Hey everyone, welcome back to Wix Fix. I hope you're having a fantastic day. In today's video, we're going to be covering all of the changes made to the Classic editor. If you aren't aware, Wix rolled out some new updates that I think are pretty cool. Some of them are a little bit confusing, so I'm hoping to bring some light to that and make sense of it. And some of the changes have made it super simple, especially for like the common user or after freelancers and agencies hand off their websites to their clients. It has made it super easy. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the 2022 Classic Editor updates. So as you can see here, if we go ahead and just look at the artboard, you're going to immediately notice a couple of changes. So the way that it's kind of laid out looks similar. However, you can see right here, we can start adding elements right onto the page. So if I just go ahead and press this, it's going to open up the add panel right away for us. And we're also going to notice right up here, when we click on this section, you're going to see it says add section. Now your initial response might be that this is just the new name for strips inside the Classic editor, but that is not the case, because when we come over to add, you're going to see a section right here for strips still. So strips are going to be its own thing, and I'll get to that in just a minute. Over here on the left, we're going to notice we have less icons. However, there is a couple new ones. So right here, we're going to see a whole icon for adding sections. So if I look right here, if I open that up, we're going to see we're having a bunch of pre-built sections here for us that we can just click through. And again, this might look like strips to you. However, I'm going to kind of explain the differences here pretty soon. But you can add a bunch of different types if you want, or you can just add a blank section. The only other new icon we have is the My Business one. And if we click on this, it's basically going to display a bunch of Wix's internal apps like Wix Stores, Wix Booking, Blog, Events, etc. And just for fun, let's go ahead and add the Wix blog. And then if I come back over to My Business, we're now going to see that the apps that we have inserted into our website are now going to be visible here in the My Business tab. So we can easily just create a post, manage the blog posts, customize post page, add blog elements, all of that kind of stuff right from here. And since we also added the blog, it added the Wix site search. So here we can also customize this stuff here as well. And if we wanted to, we could also delete certain apps here right from this tab as well, without having to go into our dashboard and delete it manually there. But now let's go ahead and talk about the new sections. So as I mentioned before, these aren't the same thing as strips. So if I just go ahead and click on this, we can change the background similar to a strip, just like this. We'll choose this gradient for now. And you're also going to notice that we can add background scroll effects, which since I chose a gradient, it's only showing fade in and fade out. So let me just switch this over to this image and see background scroll effects. We'll see we have the parallax reveal and all this other cool stuff. But you're also going to notice something right here called Quick Edit. If I go ahead and click on that, it's going to kind of show a different view of the website here. Over here, we'll have content, which we can change the image here. But one cool thing I want to mention is if I just go ahead and add a section, we'll just add this About Us one right here. And I click on the section and press Quick Edit. You're going to notice that this new content tab has all of your content that you have on or within this section. So we can easily change the title right from here, and we can even bold and all of this other stuff. And I think it's kind of cool that we can't change the font here, because again, this is one of those features that after a freelancer or agency hands off the website to their client, maybe their client can come in here and edit the content inside of it, but they can't change the design. So as of right now, the design is set up however the designer did, or it's going to be pulling the fonts and colors and stuff from your site themes. So I think it's really cool that we're allowed to kind of do some basic changes here, but we're not allowed to change the fonts and all that stuff. If you want to do that, you would have to kind of do that here. So I think it's really cool that inside the Quick Edit, we can't change certain aspects of the design. But if we come back over to Quick Edit, we can see we can change out the text inside the button, the link that the button goes to, and all of this other stuff. And you're also going to notice over here at the top, we're going to have a content tab and a layout tab. So if we come over to layout, for stuff like this that's already kind of pre-built, sometimes it might be some layouts might not be available for certain pre-built things, but as you can see here, we do have some different layouts that we can choose from. So we can literally do something like this, and it will completely change the design that we have created. And if I go ahead and exit out and look inside of this section, we're going to notice that we now have strips in here that Wix has inserted for us. And we just check it out. We're basically going to notice that before we were using strips as sections, but now we're just using strips to help design the sections. So if I come back up to this section over here, we're going to notice that we don't have a feature for shape dividers. Basically one of Wix's brand new design features for strips, but for this section, we don't have that. So if I wanted to add a shape divider, we'd have to actually add a strip to our section, and then we can add a shape divider. So first, I'm just going to go ahead and remove the background color, and I'm going to go ahead and add a shape divider. Let's do this little wave. We'll customize the design, make it white, and with the toolbar, we'll just go ahead and send it to the bottom of the section. So now we still have these shape dividers inside the editor, but they're just for strips and not sections. And that was kind of the confusing part that I was talking about in the intro. Something you might have to get your head around a little bit is sections and strips are now different. You know, like I mentioned before, strips are gonna now start helping us design the sections, and they're not gonna be used as sections. So another example of this, if I just go ahead and add a section, we'll just add a blank section for now. And if I go ahead and click on this section, you're going to notice we can't add columns. So if I wanted to add columns, we'd have to add a strip. And then here we can go into the layout tab and add columns. So sections are basically just separating our websites into different chunks of content, and strips are helping us design those sections of content rather than being those sections of content. The last thing that I would kind of like to cover real quickly in this lesson is over here on the right hand side, we're going to notice that the website is brought in a little bit, and you're going to notice when you hover over the sections, we're going to have these different settings, and I think they're really cool. So if I just hover over this section, we can move this section up, or we can move it down. And over here we have access to quick edit, which again opens up this layout, and we also have access to the layout panel here as well. And the cool thing is even after I chose this layout, we can still go in and change our mind and choose a completely different layout design if we wanted to. And even though I said that was the last thing I wanted to show you about the changes, there is actually one more thing that I do want to mention. If I hover over this section, we're going to notice that this section is actually called About. This one up here is untitled. So if we wanted to name this one, we could easily come over to this section title, and we can change the name to, like, maybe this is the hero section for the website. So we can call it hero section. And you might be wondering why you might want to change the names of your sections. And let's just say we have a button right here in the hero section, and we want to name this team, right? And we want to link this button to the team section down here. So we can just add a link. We can have it linked to a section, and we can link it to the team section. So now we don't really need to link to any anchors or add anchors to our website or anything. We can just name our sections, or you don't even have to name it if you already know what it is, but naming it's obviously easier. But you can just easily link this button to the team. And if I just go ahead and press preview and I click this link, it's going to take us down to the team section. And the cool thing is, and you can link this to sections on other pages as well, just like anchors, but it's just a really cool feature to have. That way you don't have to actually use anchors if you don't want to. You can literally just use the sections themselves and link them. And some of you may be wondering, like, hey, like, I built my website in an older version of the editor. Will this be updated? And to answer your question, I opened up a website that I use for some of our tutorials here on the channel. And as you can see, it still is the old editor. And I will say that I think eventually Wix will be updating all of their old sites to the newer model. And that's just because as Wix continues to add new features and cooler things, some of those features might not work on these older editors. So I think it's going to take a little bit of time for Wix to kind of find a way to transition all of the older sites to the newer Classic editor without having, your current sites being messed up. So I'm sure that's going to happen eventually. When, I'm not sure, but eventually I do believe that they're probably going to start updating all of the older sites to the new sections Classic editor. Again, I do think that's just because they're probably going to start adding newer features and stuff like that in the future that might not work if we are still working in the older Classic editor. But with that being said, I do think that wraps it up for the video. I'm very interested to hear what you guys think of this new Classic editor with these sections. One thing that does kind of excite me is this could potentially really help the transition from the Classic editor to Editor X. So if you are interested in potentially upgrading your website to Editor X one day, this might be a way that would make it a little bit more of an easy transition between the two platforms. So personally, I'm kind of liking where this is going, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. So let me know in the comments below. But that basically wraps it up for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, please consider giving this video a like and consider subscribing for more Wix and Editor X content coming out really soon. Thank you all again, and I'll see you on the next one.